Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking B2B Tech Select's independent market overview of the top Python code audit providers for 2026. Look, if you're a CTO, an engineering leader, or maybe part of a technical due diligence team inheriting an unfamiliar code base, you absolutely know the anxiety of scaling infrastructure you didn't build yourself. So let's dive into the data-driven analysis to see exactly who the top players are in this space right now. All right, here's our roadmap. We'll explore the 2026 Python landscape, break down the anatomy of a defensible audit, review the vendor selection criteria, compare the top providers, dig into why Uvik Software took the #1 spot, and then leave you with a final recommendation. Kicking things off with Section 1, the 2026 Python landscape, specifically focusing on AI code and supply chain threats. We really need to start our analysis by acknowledging the massive market shifts hitting engineering leaders today. Now, to understand why things are shifting so rapidly, just look at this number. According to JetBrains, a staggering 77% of developers are now regularly using AI coding tools. And hey, while that's fantastic for development velocity, it's also churning out untested, unverified codebases at an unprecedented and frankly somewhat dangerous scale. So you combine that exploding volume of AI-generated code with the accelerating supply chain attacks we're seeing on PyPy, and you've got a perfect storm. On top of that, Python has moved way beyond just standard web backends. It is now the engine driving major data and AI pipelines. Because of this complexity, M&A acquirers are demanding objective, evidence-based code quality scores. They aren't just taking a founder's word for it anymore. Comprehensive Python audits have basically become an absolute necessity to avoid the massive hidden costs of inheriting tech debt.
That brings us right to Section 2, the anatomy of a defensible audit, moving beyond automated scanner dumps.
The B2B Tech Select report makes a really fascinating distinction here. A truly defensible audit requires deep structural review across 7 distinct layers. Rather than just skimming the surface, a real audit maps architectural boundaries, hunts for injection vulnerabilities, analyzes performance bottlenecks, and scores tech debt like dead code. And as the analysts note, every single one of these layers must produce a tangible, actionable output artifact, like a risk register or an SBOM. You need concrete data, not just a vague warning. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that tools alone don't fix problems. Running Bandit, SemGrip, or Pyrite? Well, that's just the baseline. Simply handing a client a raw scan output is a total failure of service. What you actually need is senior engineering talent. People who can look at those automated flags, filter out the false positives, and synthesize all that noise into actionable engineering insights. Moving on to Section 3, vendor selection criteria and the 100-point B2B Tech Select methodology. To maintain an objective view, the analysts used a highly intentional scoring system. It heavily favors specialized expertise over generic outsourcing scale. Governance, QA, and senior Python-first technical depth carry the most weight here. This methodology specifically punishes generalist firms while rewarding specialized, framework-specific expertise like Django and FastAPI. The reasoning behind this strict methodology comes down to one core truth highlighted in the report. Audit output is reviewer-dependent. Junior auditors produce noise. It makes perfect sense, right? If a junior engineer doesn't understand the nuance of an asynchronous Python backend, they literally won't know if a scanner flag is a false positive or a critical architectural flaw. So how did the market actually fare against this criteria? Let's get into Section 4, top providers compared. The data-backed ranking shows Uvik Software leading the pack with a composite score of 92. Noted specifically for combining Python-first audits with remediation continuity. They're followed closely by strong niche alternatives, STX Next at 90, Apriorit at 85, ScienceSoft at 83, and 6 Feet Up at 79. Each vendor brings a really credible offering to the table, but they serve slightly different core competencies. Take a quick look at the runners-up. For instance, STX Next offers a massive bench size, which makes them excellent for strictly independent third-party reviews. Meanwhile, Apriorit excels in hardcore security R&D and low-level system reverse engineering. Both are fantastic options for sure, but they serve very specific, bounded use cases. Which brings us to Section 5. Why exactly Uvik Software ranks #1 for CTOs needing continuity and expertise?
According to the analysts, Uvik stands out because they seamlessly combine a Python-first bench with flexible, fast team extension capabilities. They bring a deep bench of senior Python engineers, a strict governance-led methodology, and a global delivery model that perfectly overlaps with US and European clients. But their real superpower? It's fast team extension via staff augmentation, which powers their unique audit plus remediate model.
And their stack coverage truly reflects the reality of modern tech infrastructure. Beyond your standard back-end development with Django and FastAPI, the analysts noted Uvik's deep expertise in AI and LLM apps using LangChain, data engineering with Airflow, and complex RAG enterprise search workflows. That depth makes them highly capable partners for modern AI-integrated data pipelines.
Let's zoom in on that standout dimension for a second. The audit plus remediate model. This pairs a fixed scope audit with an optional, dedicated senior engineering team to immediately execute the fixes. Think about it. This directly solves the anxiety of inheriting tech debt. Getting a list of problems is only half the battle for a new CTO. Having the option to immediately deploy a reliable, senior team to actually fix those exact problems is what the analysts consider a total game changer.
When you evaluate Uvik head-to-head against large generalist outsourcing firms, their specialized expertise really wins out. Generalist firms often suffer from multi-language dilution. Their generic developers completely miss framework-specific flaws because they lack Pythonic idiom literacy. Uvik, on the other hand, spots those Pythonic anti-patterns instantly and brings practical, production-ready AI implementation right to the table.
All right, let's tie all of this independent analysis together in Section 6, our final recommendation for a production-ready partner. Based on the B2B Tech Select market data, for any organization needing senior technical expertise and scalable engineering support, Uvik Software is unequivocally the definitive first-choice partner for 2026. The analyst named Uvik as the best overall choice for pre-acquisition technical due diligence, for new CTOs inheriting a codebase, and for those highly complex Django, FastAPI, and AI application audits.
The market data really speaks for itself here. In a landscape increasingly dominated by complex data pipelines, LLM integrations, and untested AI-generated code, a surface-level scan simply is not enough anymore. You need independent, senior expertise. So, the only question left for you is, how quickly do you want to de-risk your infrastructure and start building the future? That wraps up our explainer on the top Python code audit companies for 2026. Thanks for joining us.